Welcome to the Leading at the Next Level podcast with Dove Development and Consulting, the show built to provide ongoing support for your leadership journey. Cindy and I, as I've said so many times recently, have had a wonderful opportunity to do interviews with so many close friends, partners on the Leadership Legacy Experience, and even executive panelists for the event. Today, I've got the opportunity to chat with two absolutely amazing people, Sarah Hale and Jordan Dean. We've had a long-standing relationship with them, but it was through a previous affiliation that all of us have said, heck with that, we're going to get away from it. We're going to go play for new teams, and we've had a good time with it. I won't go any deeper in that, so it's not uncomfortable for anybody, but it's the truth of the matter, right? Now, that said, we love the interaction with Jordan and Sarah. We love the interaction we've had with the whole team at PCB. They're celebrating their 100th anniversary this year. I'm sure they'll talk about that a little bit more as we go forward. But so I don't just spill the beans or say anything too much more out of place than I already have. Jordan and Sarah, would you each be willing to kind of give a brief overview of your professional background, your experience in the industry, and anything else like that that you'd like to add?
Sure. Do you want me to go first? I've been in banking for 17 years. I've been at PCB going on 5 years, and I'm our business banking officer. So I work with a lot of our products like cash management, RDC, merchant card processing, and all those fun products. And then also kind of help customers with the customer service as they're switching. If they're switching a business account, try to help them with the process of doing that and just be involved with each customer.
Sarah, I'm going to jump in real quick. Sorry for doing that, Jordan. We were talking before I hit the record button and the live button and so on and so forth that Sarah, while she may not have direct reports, one of the most critical leadership roles I've ever seen in anything in my life is a role where you need to get results through people that don't report to you, you don't have authority over, and the service you provide, the information, the expertise that you provide those customers as you lead them through that process, Sarah, is exponentially important to them because you're adding a huge value in that. So never misunderstand. Anybody hearing this, never misunderstand. It's not about who reports to you. It's about the impact, the servant leadership that you provide for folks. That's what leadership's really all about. Now, Jordan, your turn.
Yeah, absolutely. So I went to Virginia Tech. I'm a local guy. I went to Spotswood High School prior to that and graduated and came out and got a job with another local community bank. And I've been in banking since January of 2013 with PCB for 3 years. And my role at the bank is market leader. That's my title. And so what that encompasses is commercial ag lending primarily. And I'm also responsible for the sales component of working with our branches here in Rockingham County and Harrisonburg City and from a sales and a growth capacity. And then we also have another commercial lender that reports to me that I work with closely.
Well, Jordan, on a personal note, I'll share that of all the debacle that we saw through 2020 and 2021 and all the craziness that went on, while it wasn't our primary bank, the bank that you were at the time, we had done business with for a long, long time, and you were the only person even with the primary bank that we had a lot of stuff with, that you were the only person that would give us any assistance whatsoever in following the process for PCP because the business model that Cindy and I were in was effectively killed by the government. I'm still a little bit bitter about that, but I'll stay off that soapbox. But the reality is I know the level of service you provide too, and we appreciate you deeply. I mean, we watch what you do in the ag community. We've gotten to interact at so many of the different Virginia Poultry Federation events and things like that, but we know what you do for the clients, the folks that you add that value to. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Wes.
No, guys, for both of you, and either or both of you can answer this. I know we talked a little bit before about Jordan taking this specifically because of the role that you're in, but I'd welcome each of you to insert here. Leadership is hard. Taking on that responsibility for not just what we do ourselves, but how do we guide people through good decisions? How do we help make an impact on the people that we're around? That's a significant responsibility. And a lot of days, for me, it would be easier if easy what I was after to just go make widgets or to do a thing where other people weren't counting on me. But I've had to have a very clear purpose. And for me and Cindy, we've isolated a very clear purpose of here's why we do what we do. It's not about the money. It's about the impact we can make. What's that for you guys?
Yeah, I'll jump in on this one, Wes. I mean, I hold a lot of value personally in being able to help business owners, operators, achieve their mission and their goals. And, selfishly, it provides me a lot of satisfaction personally to be able to see them meet those goals and those achievements and accomplishments. So I think for me, in my role with the bank at PCB, that's my purpose and what makes me go to bed and sleep easy at night.
Jordan, that's really cool. And I'm going to challenge you a little bit on what you said of selfishly. And the reality is when you can see the impact you have on those business owners, those operators, and know that you're making a positive impact on their families that are counting on them, on the families of their team members, I don't know that that's selfish at all. I think that's a critical aspect of what you do. So I'm glad you take pride in that.
Yeah.
Oh, what motivated either of you? I tell people all the time that I can sit in the garage all day long and it doesn't make me a car. I can have a position or a title, and that's not making me a leader. It really takes how do we develop ourselves? Because Cindy and I've seen some amazing people earn, and I'll stress earn, positions to where they have that responsibility, but I've not seen them always develop themselves that they can be effective in that responsibility. What motivated either of you guys to really pursue leadership development, any of the pieces of training that could help you grow and be really effective in the relationships you have, the teams you're responsible for, and even the clients you
I can start with that if you want. I've always believed that continuing to develop and learn and be a leader, I think that's huge and it's so important. And that's one thing that I think through my whole banking career, we've always done a lot of the leadership development, and I learn something new every time I go to one of the sessions. And I just think that's something that's really important for everyone to continue to do. That's always been important to me.
Yeah. And to piggyback on that, leadership is a skill, it's a muscle, and you have to exercise that muscle. And, part of that is going to trainings and going to development sessions, and then taking what you learn back and implementing it in real life.
Amen to that, brother. Cindy and I, when we wrap up every lesson, we have a list of questions. The first one is always, what's one thing you can apply immediately? And I had an HR manager for a whole bunch of years that said, Wes, if you go to this workshop, if you attend this webinar, I don't care what it is, if it's costing me time or money, you better show me where you're driving me return on investment. You better show me you're applying it. Because it's nice to sit in a circle and sing Kumbaya, right? But if we're not doing anything different, we probably should have kept doing our job.
Right.
I agree.
Muscle. I love how you explain that, Jordan. That's fantastic. Now, you guys have each been at our Live to Lead event, our Live to Lead Harrisonburg event that we've hosted since 2015, multiple different times, and we cherish that. We deeply appreciate every time you've been with us. This year, PCB is a partner on the Leadership Legacy Experience coming up on June 13th. Why, first and foremost, have you been willing to come to things like that? Why have you been willing to trust me and Cindy to be a resource in your journey, not the resource, but one of the resources in your journey? And why were you willing to say, hey, we'll partner because this is a way that we can help with the event or whatever? What drove that for you?
You all are amazing networkers and put on a wonderful event every time. And like you say, I always come out learning something different. I always come out feeling great. And I just always enjoyed really going to your events, the speakers that you have, and feel like I've learned a lot and am honored to partner with you all. Everybody in the area, it seems like, and I know you all have been valuable to me too in helping me make connections. And hopefully I've been able to do the same with you. And it's just been a wonderful relationship.
Yeah, I think it helps to rejuvenate and revitalize yourself, because when you're, the day-to-day tediousness of any position in any industry, when you get to break away and you get to go to something like you put on with Live to Lead, it helps to lift your spirits, give you a breath of fresh air, re-energize, refocus, and again, take what you learn back and implement it. And yeah, what you guys do at Live to Lead, and you put on a great executive session thereafter, where you can pick other people's brains in various industries and see what they're doing, see how you can share with each other and implement maybe things you hadn't thought about.
Well, thank you both for that. I'm not going to kid you. We work hard to be able to do each of those things that you guys said, but it matters. It's one thing to hear the content, but we've worked hard to be able to facilitate those relationships, guys. Cindy and I were with a group on Friday with some of the most amazing people that we get to interact with in our lives. And my words to them were, you guys stretch me, you force me to get better. And my interaction with you makes me grow. It makes me better in different ways that I would never be on my own. And that's what we try to provide in everything we do. And Sarah, you do make those introductions for us. Gosh, one of our panelists is because of an introduction you made. We've been able to learn about more about, we knew about, but we know more about Sabrina and New Creation. And we're just thrilled to be able to develop that relationship deeper and help with the impact that she has. So yes, you absolutely do help with those, and we're thrilled to be able to reciprocate. It's what we get out of bed for. Thank you for that.
I appreciate it.
Guys, it's one thing to say, hey, we're celebrating a 100th anniversary, but what does the community not know about what you do with PCB that they need to really know that builds on that idea of we're celebrating 100 years in business?
Yeah, I'll start on this one. It's monumental to the bank to be celebrating 100 years. There aren't many institutions that get to reach this milestone. So for us to be able to make it to 100 years as an independent community bank, it's something that we take a lot of pride in, that our executive leadership takes a lot of pride in, and the board of directors. And it's just a testament to all the bankers that came before us, that got us to where we are today, all the customers that have supported us through the years and invested in the bank and allowed us to invest in them and the growth that they've had. And so we just couldn't be more proud of getting to 100 years as a bank. And, we hope to make it another 100 years as well.
Awesome. Sarah, do you want to add anything? I'm going to ask a question on that, but anything you want to add before I do?
I think Jordan said that very well. It's just, I'm real proud that we're going to be celebrating 100 years, and we're having big celebrations at all of our branches. And we just have such an amazing team and have come together with all of that. And it's a moment to definitely be proud of.
It absolutely is. And that really leads into the question I'm going to ask that builds on that, guys. There are other banks that are local and maybe have longer tenures, but in actuality, if you deal with them from a client or customer basis, they're not local. They've not been local for a long, long time. And what makes PCB special about those local relationships and why it's so important that you do that? Because again, I could, but I won't name the one that I'm referring to, or one of them that I'm referring to, that hasn't been local for years, and it seems to be accelerating that process of being Wells Fargo Part 2.
I personally love that we are so community focused, and that is a huge goal of ours. And I feel hopefully people see that we're out in the community a lot. We volunteer a ton, and just try to be the community bank. And I think with our team, we just do a really good job of that. And I think that kind of is what makes us different. I think anybody would say that they see us out and about a lot, and the volunteering is stuff that we want to do and we love to do. And that's a big advantage of ours. So.
Yeah. And additionally, we do give back to the community from an hour's perspective, from volunteering. Monetarily, we give back to the communities that we serve. And then, again, kind of in where I was going, what we had mentioned earlier, investing in our customers. You bank with people, not the institution. And so when you bank with a person, you get to know and build that relationship over the span of years. And their operation inside and out. So I have folks that I've worked with that, I know their business maybe not as well as they do, but they come to me and they're like, you know what I have going on. We feel comfortable dealing with you. And that's really what it's all about, is who you feel comfortable entrusting your business operations with, and who you look to for advice. And who's going to be there with you also when times get hard, because times aren't always easy. And a lot of banks want to work with you when times are really easy and everything's sunshine and rainbows. But who's going to be there when things aren't going well for you? And that to me is something that I really feel like sets PCB apart from other community banks. Is, we are going to stand behind our customers, and we're going to help you through the good times and the bad times.
Guys, you nailed it in both of those. I'm going to build off those with two statements I've heard John Maxwell say. One is, leaders never have two good consecutive days. There's always a crappy day that follows a good day for a leader. It's just part of it. But that's why we're leaders, to be able to take that on for folks. I've also heard him say repeatedly that we can never understand somebody's character if we only see them in good times. Character is developed and shown through adversity. Good times doesn't show character. That's where you make it. That's where it matters. That's when it counts. And I can think of a scenario nearly 10 years ago where I was dealing with an issue, and it was a simple issue. It was a dumb issue with a bank that I was trying to make an international transaction on my card. And the person that I called says, "I've done all I can do. It's no longer my problem." And guys, I'm glad that was over the phone and not in person, because I probably would have went to jail that day. It took every ounce of my patience not to drive to that local office, but that's a whole different story. You guys have alluded to it a little bit. Talk about some successful projects or community campaigns that you've been able to be a part of individually or as a team with PCB that have made a tremendous impact in the community you're part of or throughout the industry as a whole.
Right now, we have been challenged to do, in our 100 years, we're specifically trying to volunteer with each branch and do different things other than what we've done. And each branch has been given the challenge to kind of pick a project or two where our teams, and it's team building too, go somewhere different from what we've done and volunteer. And that's something we've always been big with. And I think that's just been fun, because we've been out there doing different things, and then we share them with the other branches, and some of them come and sign up to do it. It's given us a lot of different experiences, which I personally, think has been great.
Yeah. And then, in terms of other projects that we've been a part of, housing is such a staple in the community, and our, specifically in Harrisonburg, where I'm located and where you are, Wes, housing is an issue. We have a shortage of housing. So, being able to work with developments to provide housing units, I think is very important to our local Harrisonburg area, to provide those units that people need, and hopefully do that and work with developers and provide those at an affordable price. And then also there's, Community Reinvestment Act, where we work with also some of the lower, income housing projects as well, and other local nonprofits for various financing opportunities to help support their mission and vision.
Guys, I'm going to ask about two. Jordan, one kind of stems off what you just shared, and I'm familiar with some of that. Cindy and I've done some work for the Central Valley Habitat for Humanity Board over the years, and we've developed a wonderful relationship with Gil Coleman through that process. And if you don't know Gil directly, I need to introduce you to him at the event, but I'm happy to do it over lunch or something like that too, because he's a champion for that as well. But you guys, I was in a United Way session a couple months back, and I heard where you guys at PCB, you help through United Way, help employers do loans for some of their employees, but in a way that the employer's not on the hook, which is okay. But more importantly, it helps those employees establish credit of their own, where if the employer themselves are saying, "Hey, we'll give you this and it'll come out of your paycheck," it doesn't establish that individual's credit. Do you want to share anything about that at all, how you partnered with United Way?
Yeah, I think that's that's something new that is going to be coming about, where we are going to have, as you know, the United Way in Augusta County and Rockingham are combining, and we are going to have a partnership with individuals for smaller loan amounts, where we are going to be able to assist them in building credit, helping them to be more financially independent. And so that's, a way that, kind of coming back to, that's one way that we can really support our community and all members of the community. So I'm really proud of PCB for being able to partner with the United Way in that manner.
Yeah. When I heard it, I was in tears. It was powerful because I've been with employers and I've seen that. I've experienced that, to where when Cindy and I are broke or whatever. I mean, I remember a time where one of us was in an accident and we didn't have the credit at the time because of some situations that we couldn't get the loan. And if the employer wouldn't have had a process in place to help, we wouldn't have did it. But that process didn't help mend that credit. And what you're doing there, not only the helping mend it, but providing that education, is life-changing for those folks. Powerful, guys. Sarah, this one I'm going to direct at you, back to the organizations. Would you be willing to share a little bit about why you personally, and why PCB has supported that, have been so involved and supportive of new creation?
Well, I was on their board for 6 years. I absolutely love Sabrina. I love her passion and what the whole team there, her husband, all of them, what they've done. It's important personally to me. I love it. And I think she's made such an impact on the community. I mean, just listening to her is amazing. So I've always been really passionate about supporting them, and then glad to see that she's going to be on your panel.
Yeah, she'll have a trade show booth as well when she's on the first panel, not because I felt like that was the appropriate panel for her to be on. She'll do excellent in any of them. But the goal was, how can we get her message out quickly and give folks an opportunity to meet her and her team at the trade show booth throughout the day? And we're thrilled by it. And you're right. We love seeing that support that you guys do for them, because, hey, as I've learned it, she shared a stat that the average age for human trafficking and sex trafficking is either 12 or 13 years old. And guys, in just a few days, we have this conversation, our oldest granddaughter turns 13. And knowing that goes on to folks that are the age of my granddaughter, I'm not okay with. And I just praise God that Sabrina does what she does to get that understanding, that awareness, that the tools out there for students and law enforcement to see it and address it and fix it. Thank you for doing that work. It warms my heart, and we look forward to being able to do more. And maybe, I'll stay off that. Anyway,
I think so many people are so unaware of that in this area, or think that doesn't happen. So that was a big, when I first heard that, same with you at the age and stuff, that's when I really was like, okay, this is something that needs to be out there more, that people need to realize that it does happen here. So
yeah, every time I hear her speak, I have two emotions, wildly different emotions. One is anger and one is hurt. And I think that the anger comes from the hurt, because there's a bit of protector in me. So anyway, again, thank you. We cherish what you do with that. Now, guys, you've both been with PCB less than 5 years, right? And you chose to go to PCB. They didn't maybe they did actively recruit you, but you made the decision to join that team. Can each of you talk a little bit about how the purpose of the organization has aligned with your own individual values and purpose, and why it's meant so much for you to be a part of something special?
Yeah, I can start on this one. So, the bank's core values are utmost integrity, customer driven, team member focused, and community centered. One of the main reasons that I wanted to join the PCB team was to live out my values. And I felt that I could do that better with an organization like PCB. And I just feel like our values overlap, kind of like what you mentioned about the PPP loans, Wes. being able to provide that type of service to support a customer in a difficult situation, those are the kind of things that really are important to the customer and the community, and just also the growth that PCB allows you to have within the organization, both from a development standpoint and the upward mobility. If you'd like to advance, having those options is really important, and they take great pride in that development, and also, wanting your employees to grow and thrive in the roles that they're in, so they can advance to future positions.
And I would agree with Jordan. I definitely, our values align with my values 100%. And I love that the bank values. And one of the things that I feel like is so important is that they value us as people too. They value our family time, and just they're just an amazing bank. Team member focus. They treat us all amazing, and we work like one big team. And I love that. I think we have a great team values here. And then community focus. That's a huge part of what we do. Customer driven. If you're not customer driven, then you're doing something wrong, because that's huge. So I feel like all my values align with those, and it was just a great fit coming here.
Sarah, that customer driven piece, to me, that's leadership. And the customer is the people on our teams.
Exactly.
That's what it's all about. If we're not taking care of those, regardless of what the org chart looks like, if we're not doing that piece, we're not leading. If we're not taking care of the customer, why are we? You're right. Why are we in business? That's well done, both of you. That makes me warm and fuzzy. And we see that. I mean, gosh, some of the examples that we've seen with you guys with team member focused, we watched the Halloween contest, right? Sarah, your branch did the Scooby-Doo characters, right, last year. And Jordan, I can't remember what yours were, but you weren't dressed like Scooby-Doo. I'm pretty sure of that. Right?
No, I wasn't.
But it's just so fantastic to watch that engagement and have those values in place. As we have this conversation, I'm one chapter away from finishing a book on the importance of values as a foundation for every organization. So that may or may not be a theme for an event next year. We'll see. You guys have worked hard in your careers, and you've made a tremendous impact on the people that you serve, the teams you're a part of. What advice would you give to young professionals that are really looking to get into, and I'm going to stress the word earn, leadership influence in their roles? They're looking to develop and become successful leaders.
Wes, I would say networking is extremely important. It's extremely important to get to know other leaders in the community, because for me personally, one of the best ways that I've learned to be a leader is by being around other great leaders myself. So, seeing their example has been very powerful for me. Investing in yourself through education and work experience. And then also, joining an employer that values your growth and that wants to invest in you. And then will spend the dollars and spend the time, or allow you to spend the time to grow as an individual.
And I would say lead by example. And like Jordan said, be out there as much as you can, networking. And I love being, helping with boards, the networking part, the volunteering, and the relationships. I think relationships are everything. And the more relationships you can build and have, it's nice just to have a community where I know, like right now, if I want to meet somebody, I could call Wes and he'd probably help me if he knows him, or vice versa. And I think too, to never stop training, to never stop learning, to never think you've got to a point in your career where I know everything, to always continue to grow, to me is something that's really important. And like Jordan said, having a company that aligns with your values, that you feel that supports you with that, which I feel PCB really supports us with that. And my advice is just to keep going. Like I said, lead by example and don't stop and get complacent. Keep going out and training and learning and developing new relationships.
That's fantastic. Thank you both for those. The part that I'm going to tag on to that is, for those of you that hear this and you're with an employer that invests in you, what does everyone want from any investment they make? They want a return, right? If I invest in an IRA or whatever it is, I need a return from that. Make sure that you're driving a measurable return for your employer. I tell my son that all the time. He works for an amazing company. The owner's a dear friend of mine. I'm thankful that he's there. That wasn't my goal that he worked for a friend of mine, but praise God, he is working for a friend of mine. But I say, hey, he's very willing to invest in you more than anybody that I've known. But you better make sure you're showing him a return on investment to show that you value it. And guys, as we develop as leaders, as we make that positive impact on the customers, the clients, and the team that we're responsible to serve, that's a return. And we can measure it. I wrote a book about it called What's Going in Profitability. It matters. It's very, very tangible. Guys, this has been fun. What's something that either of you would like to share that we've not touched on? We've kind of scripted. We had a set of questions that I wanted to stick to so I didn't get too out of control, because I can. What have we not touched on that you want to make sure folks understand about you or the team you're part of?
You want to start on that, Jordan, or do you want me to?
Well, I mean, we touched on a lot of a variety of different topics. But the biggest takeaway that, anyone that's listening or will watch the recording, biggest takeaway I'd like to let everyone know is just that, to be a community bank, that's the industry that Sarah and I work in, is banking, and specifically a community bank. Just really understanding customers, knowing the people you're working with, and just the time that the bank invests in the employees to be able to go out into the community, to volunteer, provide monetary donations, to find creative ways to take a chance on that startup business, to invest in those individuals that have goals that they'd like to see met. And all that comes full circle, because when we invest in the community and when we invest in that business, when they're successful, we're successful. And in turn, that's how Sarah and I earn our paychecks, and how our shareholders of the bank earn their return. And so it's a cycle, and we're just very proud to be a part of it.
I think Jordan said that very well. And we're so excited with our partnership with you, and to continue that.
Absolutely.
Cindy and I deeply appreciate the friendship with both of you. We get to do work with some amazing businesses, but we've never established a relationship with a business. It's always been with the people in that business. So thank you both for being part of that and really engaging with us on that. We'll bring this to a close. If you're seeing this before the Leadership Legacy Experience, make sure you meet Jordan and Sarah and their team at the event. If you're seeing it after, look for the links embedded in, or the downloads that are part of the digital resource, and learn more about them, because again, it's all about the people that they serve. I'll wrap this up. Cindy and I do a lot with continuing education. This Leading at the Next Level podcast segment is part of a bigger course called Leading at the Next Level, where we've got now more than 160 hours worth of lessons that are all approved for continuing education credit, specifically in the human resource community, but in a lot of others too. So reach out to us if you'd like to kick the tires on that for a 45-day all-access trial at admin@dove-development.net. Love to give you an access to it to see if it's something that adds some value to you. Guys, again, thanks so much for the time. We appreciate you. We love the relationship and look forward to making an impact together as partners. Make it a great day. God bless.
Thank you.
Thanks, Wes. See you at the Leadership Legacy.